Let's jump right in, because we've got an absolutely fascinating explainer for you today. We're unpacking this incredible intersection between ancient astrology, specifically Mars in the third house, and something we all universally dread, modern financial paperwork. You know the drill, right? On one hand, we've got this fiery modern urge to just blast through our to-do list, clear the desk, and move fast. And on the other, the incredibly strict, unyielding reality of tax season or, that literal shoebox of crumpled receipts you've been avoiding. It's this massive clash of forces, and getting a handle on it might just completely rewire how you tackle your everyday admin. Okay, let's dive into this. Because there's a really uncomfortable paradox right at the center of today's source material. We live in an era where speed is everything. We want to be efficient, we want to be first, we want to cross that finish line before anyone else even starts. But think about it. When it comes to the nitty-gritty details of our lives, especially our finances, does finishing first actually mean anything if the work is wrong? The text we're digging in today really pushes us to ask, has our total obsession with speed quietly replaced the lost art of careful, methodical review? Section 1. Mars meets the third house, the origin of the conflict. So, looking at the text, Vedic astrology defines Mars in the third house as a placement that essentially injects lightning straight into your veins. It supercharges the speed of your thoughts, your actions, and your communication. Mars is literally the planet of energy, urgency, and competition. But then there's the third house itself. That's the domain of effort, short journeys, and, crucially for our explainer today, paperwork, documentation, and everyday transactions. So picture this. You take the ultimate cosmic force of rapid momentum and you drop it directly into the exact area of life that demands meticulous, sit-down, and focus administration. It creates incredible efficiency, sure, but it also introduces a massive hidden risk. Now, what's really interesting about this is how completely opposed these two forces actually are. It's a real tug of war. On the left side of the ring, Mars brings this raw energy, urgency, confidence, and just a burning desire to act right now. It wants to go, go, go. But then you hit the third house domain on the right. Paperwork, daily transactions, documentation. By definition, these are tasks that force you to sit still, read the mind-numbing fine print, and cross every single T. Mars wants to sprint an unbroken straightaway. But the third house? It's an administrative obstacle course. The whole placement is basically a tightrope walk between wanting to move at light speed and being forced to deal with meticulous everyday chores. Section 2. Speed versus financial accuracy. Why haste is rarely rewarded. So think about it. Mars naturally craves momentum, right? It always prefers movement over hesitation. Quick decisions, instant replies, crossing things off the list immediately. And hey, in a lot of areas in life, those trades absolutely guarantee success. But as our source material lays out so clearly, tax compliance and financial accuracy, they follow a totally different rhythm. They demand oversight, they demand patience, careful review, verification, and a much, much slower pace. The exact same rhythm that makes you an absolute rock star in a brainstorming session is the exact thing that will trip you up hard when you're filing a complex financial declaration. Bottom line, accuracy protects your future. Just getting it done fast doesn't. Let's just walk through what financial paperwork actually demands of us. It's relentless. Every single invoice deserves attention. Every receipt deserves verification. Every figure deserves confirmation, and every declaration deserves review. Rushing through a tax return might give you that sweet, quick hit of dopamine when you finally check the box. But if you overlook even one of these details, man, that creates consequences that last way, way longer than the 5 minutes you saved by rushing. When it comes to your finances, the paperwork doesn't care if you broke a land speed record. It only cares if you were right.
Section 3. The modern urgency trap. How digital life tricks us.
And this brilliantly illustrates how our digital life actually tricks us into a false sense of urgency. I mean, look at this. Emails are arriving continuously. Notifications are buzzing in our pockets, demanding attention right this second. Payments happen instantly with a double tap on your phone. Even tax filing is totally online now. Information is just moving faster than ever before. The entire architecture of modern banking and business is basically built to encourage relentless, constant urgency. And honestly, Mars feels incredibly comfortable inside this chaotic pace. It feels perfectly natural to just stay at light speed. But here is the truth we have to actually pause and recognize. Because we live in this frantic, always-on environment, the mind literally starts believing that every single task requires immediate action. We're completely conditioned to react instantly. But compliance quietly yet very firmly asks you to slow down. It's a huge disconnect. The world is screaming at you to move faster. Your own Mars placement might be itching to act right away. But just before you click that final submit button on a legal document, you have to find the discipline to hit the brakes, take a breath, and verify. Section 4. The cost of impatience, the snowball effect of small errors. The third house rules are everyday actions, and, small actions usually feel totally insignificant. But the text explicitly warns about a snowball effect. It's like a giant puzzle where one wrong piece ruins the whole picture. It starts with just one unchecked number, which leads to one missing document. Or maybe it's one incorrect account entry. Or literally just forgetting to attach a file in an email to your accountant. None of these seem like a big deal in the moment, but together, they quietly alter the entire outcome. Mars shows us that massive financial disasters don't usually start with some huge conspiracy. They start with boring, ordinary moments that we thought were too small to double-check because we were in a hurry. This is such a fascinating insight from the text. Paperwork mistakes are rarely caused by sheer ignorance. They're almost always caused by unnecessary haste. Someone skips reading the instructions just to get it over with. Someone copy-pastes numbers too fast. You assume an entry is correct without double-checking it. On paper, it looks like a technical error, but the root cause? The root cause is 100% behavioral. It's just impatience. Let's move to and see how this builds up, especially in communication, which, remember, is also governed by the third house. Step 1, you fire off a rapid-fire financial email to your accountant. Step 2, because you rushed it, you accidentally create a small misunderstanding. Step 3, fast forward a bit, and that tiny misunderstanding has mutated into a massive compliance headache. Mars teaches us to communicate with confidence, sure, but compliance demands absolute clarity before that confidence is earned. You really don't want to be confidently wrong when the IRS comes knocking. Section 5. The wisdom to pause, integrating action with responsibility. I want to take a second and just pause on this absolutely beautiful, almost philosophical quote from the text. Documentation becomes a quiet conversation between the present and the future. I love that. Documentation exists because human attention naturally drifts, and the faster we move, the faster those details evaporate from our brains. Receipts preserve facts. Bank statements preserve history. When you do your paperwork correctly, you are literally leaving a crystal clear message for your future self, or, a future auditor. Solid records answer tomorrow's questions long before they're even asked. Another huge trap here is the illusion of independence. Mars loves playing the lone wolf, solving problems completely solo. Stopping to ask questions feels slow. Seeking clarification feels like a waste of time. But the reality? Tax laws are constantly changing, and reporting standards are getting more complex by the literal minute. Having confidence without actually verifying anything just creates totally avoidable mistakes. The text makes it incredibly clear, true strength isn't always about taking bold, independent action. Sometimes, true strength is recognizing that slowing down and seeking expert guidance is way wiser than just winging it. Of course, we have to acknowledge the elephant in the room, pressure. Real-world business deadlines create immense urgency. Personal obligations are always fighting for your time. And when things get crazy, people rush through financial chores just to get them off their plate. Mars gets pressure. It thrives on it. But the third house reminds us of a really harsh truth. Pressure changes your attention long before it changes your performance. What feels like peak efficiency in the heat of the moment is often just oversight in disguise. You might think you're being super productive, but you could actually just be generating a bunch of future liabilities. So, the crucial point is this. This astrological placement isn't telling you to stop taking initiative. Action is valuable. Productivity is necessary. The goal here isn't to freeze up. The goal is true balance. Can you keep your speed connected to your accuracy? Can your confidence stay tethered to actual verification? Can your action remain tied to responsibility? Your financial discipline is at its absolute strongest when your fiery Martian energy and your meticulous, patient oversight are working together rather than fighting each other. Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway of Mars in the third house. The fastest decision isn't always the strongest one. The quickest signature is rarely the safest. True, lasting success only really shows up when every single detail is understood. So what does this all mean for you? I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on today. Is your financial confidence built by finishing first, or is it built by making absolutely sure nothing important was left behind? Thanks for hanging out for this explainer, and hey, maybe take a deep breath before you hit that next submit button.